Hello everyone, welcome to another edition to Homes How Do I, and today we're going to be cleaning out the dryer and the dryer stack. So one of the big signs you can always tell if your dryer is plugged up with lint is it takes a long time to dry, or your clothes kind of get a little bit of a burnt smell to them. You can also go to where it exhausts. If you don't feel no air coming out of there, it also means that it can't get out, so everything's going to get hot and burnt. Your dryer might get a little extra hot. Lint fires are a very big issue. Probably more prone to gas versus electric, but electric ones catch on fire just as well. So a couple things to look for first. Your lint trap. Make sure this is clean every time. So if that's not clean, you're going to continue to blow the lint right up the stack. Make sure your hose, if you replace it, is a good metal type hose, not a plastic one. So we're going to go over cleaning that out, cleaning the dryer out, how to re-level the dryer and level the washer. So with that, let's get to it. So I went to Lowe's and bought this kit. I figured I'd buy a brand new kit so I could break it down for everybody and put it together, so that way you know how to put it together as well. And then we'll clean the system out. So our dryer is a typical old dryer. It's, you know, we're nobody fancy here. So ours runs up the wall and then through the ceiling to the outside. Okay, so in the box, this unit's called a lint eater, and I'll put all this information in the description so you can actually just order it right from Lowe's. Description how to put it together. So you've got a little auger in case you gotta chop through something heavy. It's got two brushes. We'll unbox those here in a second. The rods is pretty similar to a fireplace cleaning kit, except for these rods are much more flexible. And a shop vac attachment. We have a shop vac, but I don't have the big industrial one. Typically we only use that for cleaning out the cars and stuff like that. So let's get this thing apart. Okay, so this is the main brush we'll end up using. So it's got this long skinny brush which could be used to get up inside the unit. This brush will actually drive with these rods on our end of our drill. It comes with this Allen screw that you have to put in the side of the brush. It's a pretty easy operation as long as you don't drop it. So just a typical Allen key, nothing fancy. And luckily they give you two little set screws, which unfortunately big screws and little screws and big fingers, you know. So when you use these, the Allen screw just goes on the end of the Allen wrench and then just screw it into the end of the housing. You can't screw it all the way in because that's made so that you can actually clamp down on these rods. So these rods all have threads on the end of them, and there's an adapter in this bag. So what you would do is you would just screw this shaft all the way in. And if you notice that the end of the shaft has this little recessed area, that's where you want that screw to tighten down onto. If you tighten it onto the thread, make sure that little set screw is backed off. Thread it in, and then you can tighten this down. And that way, as you have to back up or reverse, it doesn't unscrew from here. But it's very crucial that that set screw is in this part of these rods. If you clamp down on these threads, you're going to damage the threads and you won't be able to get it on and off easily. Okay, so let's move the dryer. So we get access to the hose on the bottom.
Okay, so try to hold this. So this is just a clamp. Now sometimes you'll have the one where you got to pinch together. Some may have the hose clamps. We'll unscrew that, and you can either use a nut driver or a screwdriver to take it off. Okay, we generally try to keep this thing pretty clean. So I'll show you how to use that tool, and I'll show you what I'll do several times a year just to keep it maintained. Okay, so let's take off the upper half of this hose. It slides right off. Now these rods came with this little adapter. That little adapter slides the screws in and allows you to use your drill. So we'll take our end, we'll thread it onto the end of the rod, and that end goes onto your drill, and that allows you to push it up into the, since it's so flexible, you get so far, it's going to be easy to take it out with the drill. Go from this end. Okay, so now just to finish blowing this out, literally electric leaf blower. I'm going to put it up in there and blow it out. Okay, so we had bought a new dryer hose. I knew how chewed up this one end was. So we bought a new hose. We'll get this installed. I do want to show you how to clean out the dryer as well. Okay, on this model, you have your lent catch. And if you're having problems with these, ours periodically, the ends will break. You can just buy these off Amazon real easy. So there's the opening. Found this lint brush. That's exactly what it's made for. Just goes down inside and scrubs out all that lint. So one thing you have to be careful of when you're doing this, now this is an electric dryer, so you don't have the issue with a pilot light. If you have a gas dryer, You got to watch using any air to blow all this stuff out, because if you blow out your pilot light, you're just leaking gas. Unless you have a fancy one that's got the auto igniter, well, that's a whole nother story. But you always got to be aware of that. Now, just a little handy tip, keep you out of trouble. You clean this out. When it comes to that vent right there, all that stuff comes inside. So make sure you clean that out. And that brush works as well. If you have one of lint catch in the front, that brush works there as well. I'm looking at that grill in the back, see how plugged up it is. You might want to clean that just a little bit as well. Now this is where your little shop vac comes in handy. Okay, it's all cleaned up. With this being electric, you could just blow it out with the compressed air, but I'm reluctant to show that, because if it was gas, you got pilot lights that aren't lit if you blow them out, and that could be very dangerous. That's why we're using a shop vac. You have to just be patient with this, because getting this on is not always easy. Sometimes you just luck out, sometimes you don't. So just work it on, and get this clamp on it. Next project. Okay, last but not least, let's just go ahead and vacuum this out so that you could clean the area where the pilot light is. Now with all of this, you have to assess how comfortable you are with doing this stuff. Most of it's pretty simple. The only curve might be is the if you have a gas pilot light, you're going to have to assess how comfortable you are with that. But most of these tips are for common everyday stuff. And I'll tell you, getting this one on the bottom, I've done this one enough times here in the basement to know that it's a super pain in the backside, because you don't have much of a lip right here. But you'll see on the internet people using electric leaf blowers to clean these out, and it's good for, I'll say, periodic maintenance. But you're gonna have to assess how often you do this with the brush. I would say once, maybe twice a year with the brush at least. If you're going to use the electric leaf blower, you can do that a couple times a year. But what happens is this builds up under heavy use, and especially if it's gas, it gets down in the pilot light, lights the whole thing up, and you know what happens there. It may not happen as much on the electrics, but it's still a big fire hazard, and it's something that needs to be cleaned out periodic. Also, if your dryer stops drying well, this is another cause, because it can't exhaust the air, so it just doesn't work very well. So with that, let's get this on. This is where I like this driver versus a screwdriver, because I've fought that screwdriver enough times. And always, my trusty assistant Duke is never far behind. Okay, the last little tip I want to share with you, well, there's going to be two. This dryer hose, you don't want this sitting back here with a ton of kinks in it. So this is extra long dryer hose. And I like them longer so that as these ends fray from taking this other end off, when you cut this off, you have plenty. So I'm going to unclamp this, and I'm going to slide all the excess up into this section so that I can keep the longer hose. Carter Cedar is much cleaner. Once it's all cleaned up and put back together, your system should work fine. Okay, so there'll be one more little tip. So if your dryer, in this case, it's going right back where it's at, it's not rocking. So underneath here, these 4 leveling feet. So there's one there, there's one there, and there's two on the back. Grab a big pair of pliers and you can adjust them. Now if your washing machine rocks, it's the same exact thing. You don't want these things rocking back and forth. It's not good for them. Especially on your washing machine, it's the same thing. They got the same feet under them that the dryer has. Adjust it so it doesn't rock back and forth. As close to level as you can get. You can set a level on the top. Try to get it close to level. Your dryer and your washer will last much longer if you get the machines level and they're not banging around on you.
And so if you had to make this hose a little bit shorter, because you don't want it all knotted up behind the dryer, it cuts pretty easy, but you're gonna need two things: a pair of wire cutters or a pair of dikes. What you'll do is you'll snip this wire, and then you'll cut this foil, just cut it along the wire back to your starting point. Sometimes it cuts easy, sometimes it don't. Cut it free. Once again, you don't want this all behind your dryer. It'll build up even more in all the bends. Trim it, give yourself enough space so you can pull the dryer out, and then it'll be much better. So if you liked how we cleaned out the dryer, please leave me some comments or notes below. If there's anything you'd like to see or any tips or tricks, also leave that down in there. We've always got new things, home, auto, a little bit of everything. So with that, it's Homes How Do I, how we clean out dryer vents. Remember, do it frequently, and remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.